Hello everyone, thank you for joining us this Saturday morning and welcome to this educational presentation of identifying the immediate trend and how simple it is with our new PTS Primo Charting platform. Now today I'm going to be sharing with you a tool that is only available pre-canned and already formatted on our platform that can really show you what the immediate trend is. And by immediate, we mean either short term or what's happening right now at this moment. For example, let's take a look at this chart in Facebook. This is going back to the beginning of May. By using this tool that I'm going to be sharing with you today, you could have easily known just right here that you are in an uptrend and that you should only be looking at Facebook as a long opportunity, not looking at it to sell, not looking at anything being overbought or some bad news coming out in the company. You should be looking at this stock in terms of it going up, so you want to be buying it. With this simple tool, they would have told you in advance that you were in a short-term uptrend and the stock rose over 25 points in the next 2 months. All right, so this is a real chart coming into yesterday. And I'm going to show you how simple it is to do, once again, with a tool that is only available on our new PTS Primo Charting platform. Now, we specifically designed this because it's an educational portal that teaches you how to trade. That is our only goal, to simply teach our members around the world and in over 115 countries and in virtually every state in the United States how to trade, to put the power back in your own hands so that you don't have to rely on anyone or anything else to tell you what to do. So this promises to be a great presentation. Welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo. I'm the president and founder of Specialist Trading. About 8 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies, where, as I stated, our entire goal is simply to educate you as traders. It's our belief that the reason why most traders fail is because you take yourself out of the game. You either subscribe to some signal service, you're reading all the blogs, or waiting for the news events to come out, or waiting to hear what the economic news is, or some guy on TV, and that's how you make your decision. The entire industry is based on this type of information. The only trouble is 80 to 85% of all traders ultimately fail. So if you look at the data, that this information must not work. The reason why it's not working is because you're not putting yourself in the game. You're basically saying, I don't know what to do. Tell me what I should trade or how I should trade. And that's a recipe for disaster. So I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies and we formulated Specialist Trading so that we put the power back in your hands. All we do is supply our members around the world with information that has shown high levels of consistency. And then we work with you so that you can ultimately decide how you want to trade. Whether you want to trade aggressively, conservatively, if you want to stay in the trade as long as possible or get in and out in a matter of days or even a matter of minutes, it's up to you, entirely up to you. We have traders that take the same signals based on our strategies and have entirely different results. And that's good. That's what we encourage, because you should be trading to your style. You should never buy a system where you have no idea what it's based off of and just blindly taking orders. Now, I've been trading for 41 years. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange, so my background is in stocks, but I've traded just about every market, every environment, everything you can think of. I was on the floor for a total of 16 years. 9 of those years I was a specialist, so that's where we get the name Specialist Trading. A specialist isn't more special than anyone else. It just means that you specialized in making markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So I made markets in stocks during the crash of 1987 and the bull market that followed. So I've been involved in just about every environment of trading you can think of. Straight down, straight up markets, sideways markets. I've traded just about every system, every technique, every method you can think of. So in my over 4 decades of trading, I know what works in terms of consistency and I know what doesn't. I know what you shouldn't waste your time on. And that's what we do. We simply educate you. As I'm going to be doing today, I'm going to be sharing with you a tool that is only pre-defaulted on our platform. You can start using it as early as today if you'd like. So this promises to be a great presentation. Once again, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I know it's the Saturday before a holiday, and I don't want to spend all morning here, spending 2 hours. And it'll be very simple, but I'm going to be sharing with you some actual live charts on our platform, and you'll see just how simple it is to get in sync with the immediate trend. Now, before we begin, if you haven't done so already, I would like to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. There's our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I post different things on a daily basis, anywhere from what our strategies are generating, our base format signals, to little bits of wisdom I've accumulated along the way for trading. So lots of great free information. Feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated, first and foremost, our only goal is simply to teach you how to trade. We are a little bit different from other webinars in that we're not trying to sell you some $10,000, $20,000 system that never loses. We're not telling you what the perfect market is or the perfect time frame is. You should forget all the other markets and only focus on this one. We're not telling you how to trade options, trade stocks, trade futures. It's entirely up to you. This is how you've taken yourself out of the game. You should decide what market, what time frame. We simply provide you with those tools so to make it easier for you to decide, and then we work with you. Okay, so as you can see here, my goal is not to force feed you signals. My goal is not to force feed a strategy down your throat. My goal is simply to teach you how to trade with the specialist edge. This is the same edge that was taught to me some 41 years ago when I first started trading, when I was struggling, and what I truly believe has been able to sustain me now for over 4 decades. So hopefully it will be able to do the same for you. Okay. Now, since this is an educational classroom, I want to take all your questions. I know a lot of you will probably have questions afterwards. That's fine, but please wait till the very end of the class to ask any questions. Okay. I'm going to be showing you a lot of slides, and if we stop for, I would say possibly every question, you may be here for a while. So the only thing I want to say is, if you're having technical difficulties, or if you're unable to hear, or if you're unable to see the screen clearly, oftentimes it is your internet connection. So if you log off and log back on, but I'm just going to take a quick survey here just to see if everyone's seeing everything all right before I begin, or hearing everything clearly, because I don't want to start the presentation and trust me, I've done this before where my mic didn't work and no one was hearing anything for the first half hour of the presentation. So if you could just go to your question and answer box and type in if everything's okay, if you're seeing and hearing the screen clearly, and then we'll begin. Okay. Also, once again, so if you have questions, let's wait till the very end to answer any questions. The only question I will answer at this time is this being recorded? Yes, it is. So if you are having technical difficulties and it doesn't get back to normal, don't worry. We will send you a link to this recording to everyone at the end of this presentation. All right, seems like everything is fine. Thank you, everyone, for responding. Great. All right, so let's begin then. I want to talk about an immediate term trending tool. A lot of people, have always asked me in the past, what do you mean by immediate term? Well, we have different tools for discovering the trend at Pro Trader Strategies and Specialist Trading. We have longer term trending tools, we have overall trending, and then we have immediate or short term trending. The immediate is basically telling you right now. And I know a lot of people like to look at different time frames to find out what the right one is. They look at a higher time frame and a lower time frame, and that's fine. You'll be able to use this tool, and you can do that if you'd like. My only, I know this may be a lot of your questions, but it's been my belief and what I've seen through my personal experiences trading that you don't need to overcomplicate your trading that way. Now, I only look at one chart at one trend at a time. So in other words, if I'm trading a 5-minute chart, I'm only interested in the immediate term trending of that 5-minute time frame. I'm not looking at the hourly to find out what it's doing. I'm not looking at the daily. So this, in my opinion, shows no consistency. I've never seen anything like this work in my personal experience. Now, having said that, remember, once again, we're not here to tell you how to trade. That's not my mission to say, so never use that technique. If you feel confident enough and it works for you, fine. But I know a lot of people are always asking me, Steve, this immediate term trending tool that you showed us, should I be using it on a higher time frame and a lower one at the same time? It's entirely up to you. If you ask me my suggestion, I would say there's absolutely no reason to do this. In fact, there's no reason to do that with any tool, but it's entirely up to you, okay? So we're going to be talking about this immediate term trending tool. And before we begin, as always, we have to share with you our disclaimer because I'm going to show you a lot of performance results. I'm going to go through a lot of charts right now, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the performance results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And please remember that, once again, all the examples I'm about to show you are strictly for educational purposes only. So once again, we're required by law to show you this before we show you any of our charts. So let's begin. I'm going to toggle over onto the actual screen now. This is a current chart of Facebook. This is the chart we looked at earlier. And remember, once again, we have a good crowd here today on Saturday morning. This won't be a long presentation, but please, if you have any questions, please, if you joined us late, wait till the end of class to ask, and then I'll get to them, because there's a little box I have to open up, in order to even see your questions, and I'm closing that as of right now. I'm just looking at the charts just like you are. Okay, so remember we talked about this. This is looking at Facebook starting in roughly middle of April, beginning of May more likely, and obviously in hindsight, it's easy to see that we're in an uptrend. I mean, if someone looking at this would say, yeah, sure, but I would want to know well in advance that we're in an uptrend. How would we have known that? Well, this is the tool I'm talking about. Remember, this is a short-term or immediate-term trending tool. And you've seen this before. I've talked about it in other presentations. I'm not really going to go into it. I'm just going to show you how simple it is to apply on our platform, because it's already pre-canned. It's based off the Bollinger Bands. If you've seen me give webinars before, I've talked about it. But let me show you how simple it is to apply once you have our platform. It's based off a strategy we call strategy 3A, and we're not going to go over into the strategy. We're just going to share with you the indicator, which is a specific way to read the Bollinger Bands. All right. Now you see how the Bollinger Bands now are constructed. They're defaulted to an entirely different setting that you probably know of. We're not looking at these outstretched bands that kind of engulf price. We're looking more of these now as a trending tool. There's a specific proprietary setting that we use for this. Now, here's the way it is applied on this trending information here. Once you see price have anywhere from 3 to 5 closes either above or below, that's telling you the trend. So in other words, this is the highest Bollinger Band. And look at how we closed right here. We had 3 bars. Even though it was a gap up, a lot of people will look at this and say, well, wait, this gapped up way too high. It's off some news that's probably not relevant, and the stock is overbought. You've got to short it because it's going to come down here and fill this gap. If you have 3 to 5 closes above this highest Bollinger Band, that's telling you that the immediate trend is up. So you don't want to be selling this at all. You want to be looking for buying opportunities. As you can see, look how we stayed above the highest Bollinger Band. Okay. Now here you closed right below it, but immediately went right back above it. Okay. So we went right back above, and look what's happened in the last week. We've started to have 3 closes below. So this is automatically telling us that that trend is over. That immediate term trend is over to the upside. Now, could it be reestablished again? Sure. If we have 3 to 5 closes above that, sure, we're back in an uptrend again. What if we have 3 to 5 closes below? Well, most likely we are in a downtrend. Now, if you're a more aggressive traders, we have some aggressive students of specialist trading who say, Steve, I don't even need to wait for 3 to 5 closes. If I get 1 close above or below that highest or lowest Bollinger Band, that's my setup. That's my signal, okay? That we're in a short or uptrend or short-term downtrend. Now remember, this is not a signal simply to enter or to sell or buy. This is simply telling you a signal as to the direction of the trend. So I don't want you to sit here and say, oh, okay, so the minute that we closed above, that was my buy setup. No, this is just right now telling you that you most likely are in an uptrend. And the minute, if we closed here on Monday below, this is telling me that I should sell at the market? Not necessarily. If you're a more aggressive trader, I'll show you in just a few instances how that may apply. But for right now, using this basic trending tool, no, I would say that that is not something you want to do. Let's look at another example here. Let's look at the opposite direction, and we'll look at Pepsi, okay, PEP. Now here's a little bit more interesting because you have actually 2 trends. We'll toggle back here a little bit, and we'll see that we were originally kind of coasting up and back, and see how you had 1 close above and then it went right back down below. But now you started to have consecutive closes below, and see how you were in a sustained downward trend. It wasn't until we started closing back above, so this is telling you most likely the downtrend has completed, and then we had 3 closes right here above, and look how we continued to go up. Okay, and this was coming into this last week here, okay? June the 29th, the last day. So you see how simple this is. There's really nothing you have to do if you want to find the immediate trend, but apply this edited version of the Bollinger Bands. And once again, this is all pre-defaulted on our platform. All you have to do is click on that indicator, and you'll see it right here. And you'll know instantly what the short-term or immediate trend is. Now, Is this 100% foolproof? Does it work all the time? No. In fact, I'll show you some examples in just a few seconds here of stocks where it didn't work well, where you get whipsawed. But you're going to get whipsawed in anything. Remember, our goal as your mentor, as your instructor, is to try and give consistency into your trading. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to stack the odds in your favor. Because if you have the odds in your favor, you have a proper money management, you have a method or a technique that works somewhat well over time, you'll be a consistent trader. But you have to have these consistencies. You see, most traders do the opposite. If they'll see something like this, they'll come down and say, boy, look at these big 3 sharp days, and we've kind of bottomed out here. Guess what? All the institutions are buying right here. This is major support on Fibonacci level and Elliott wave. And the stock is tremendously oversold. I'm going to buy here because we just had a gap up day and now we're closing higher. So it looks like we bottomed out. This is the way most traders trade because they're trading against the trend. What is the trend telling you? The trend's telling you that we're going lower. So there's no reason to be buying. So what most traders do is they'll go to some signal servers or listen to some guy on TV and then they say, okay, this guy in the chat room said we should buy this, and look what happens. And then right around here they'll say, you know what? This thing is not going higher. That's when they'll sell, usually at the bottom. And then when things start to go up, that's when they decide to short. All right? So you decide to short, and you think this thing is going to go back down again, and look what happens. It's all because you're out of sync with the immediate trend. That's why most traders fail. You're basically swimming against the current. You're swimming upstream. And that's why, you start out with all these hopes and dreams and thinking you're going to buy at the bottom and sell at the top. And it really doesn't work. There's no consistency in that type of trading. In my 41 years, the only consistency you really have is when you are in sync with the trend, regardless of what trend it is. Now, everyone knows this. This is Trading 101. The only problem is most traders have a different idea of what the trend is. These tools and all the techniques we have on the PTS Primo Charting platform are all things that I have found in my 41 years to really work well. Okay, so I showed you a couple of stocks here, and I showed you downtrends, uptrends. I want to go back to Facebook. Let's go back to Facebook because I'm going to start looking at a series of stocks and show you how you could actually start applying some type of structure to this. Because as of right now, all I've really shared with you is the trend. And this is simple. You can start doing this as early as today and going over and looking over all your stocks. And once again, this can work on futures. It can work on currency pairs. Right now, I'm only looking at stock data on our platform. But you can look at currency pairs. You can look at Bitcoin. You can look at intraday trading. It makes no difference. All right, I'll show you some longer-term charts with stocks in just a moment. But it makes no difference, absolutely no difference if this is a monthly chart or a 5-minute chart. You can still apply the proprietary Bollinger Band setting, and you'll know instantly what the immediate trend is. But remember, this is just a trend. We do not buy or sell simply because we're in a trend. We need some structure. In other words, if you're sailing, sure, if you've got a nice breeze and a nice wind, that's great, but you can't just jump into the water and think that that's going to take you, the breeze is going to take you very far. You have to have some structure in the form of a boat or in the form of some vehicle that will get you across the lake or the ocean or the river. That's what we mean by a strategy. A strategy is that structure. It's that boat that you've constructed that will take you across with the wind at your back. So we need some type of entry technique or some type of structure. Now, I'm not going to go over into a full-fledged strategy, but I'm going to share with you something that we use in just about all of our strategies. It's called the top-bottom 25% bars. These are bars that tell you most likely the short-term direction of the next bar. So in other words, when you see a bar close in the top 25% of its range, most likely we're going to continue. Now, how high or how long we're going to go, we don't know. You have to monitor that. But we use this in a number of our strategies as our setup bar. All right. Same thing if you get a bar that closes in the bottom 25% of its range. Most likely, it's telling you just by the bar that you're going to be going lower. Now, how far down or for how long, we have no idea. Now, when we couple this with the actual immediate trend, well, now we've added consistency, and we can start to have the beginnings of a strategy or a method to trade. Let me once again show you how simple this is. We have our top bottom 25% here. All you have to do is click on the signal arrows and look at all the arrows that appear. And you see how there's an abundance of green arrows because we continue to go up. So the actual bars were telling you they wanted to go higher at the same time. Now here's a little technique. Remember, this is not a strategy, because I know once I present this, a lot of you are going to say, Steve, this is great. Where do I exit? Where do I place my stop? Well, those are all the things you need for a strategy. When a technique is displayed, we're only just showing you some high probability entry points. It's up to you to decide where to place your stop. It's up to you to decide where to exit. All right, so I'm just going to be sharing with you this technique. Here's how it works. If you have our proprietary Bollinger Band setting and you have our top bottom 25% as we have here on the platform, what we do is we wait for the first bar, once we've crossed above, to have an up green arrow. That's telling us that we closed in the top 25%. And that could be your buy entry. Either you can buy above, 1 or 2 ticks above. You can place a limit. Either way, if you were to purchase somewhere around here, you would have gotten in it at the very beginning of that trend. You see how simple that would have been? Now, once we close below, you could say, okay, I'm getting out of this. That was a nice trade from here to here. And then we close back above. You could have said, well, this is a little risky because most of the bar is still in the realm of the Bollinger Band. So you could have taken this one and taken advantage of this nice, roughly 10-point rise. But now you see we're starting to close in the realm of the Bollinger Band, so you're going to wait to see. You may have a bar close here on Monday with a red bar down. That would be your sell signal. Or you may have a close up with an up green arrow. We have to wait and see. Remember, the market tells us what to do. We don't go to a chat room and listen to some so-called expert tell us what to do. We don't listen to TV and tell us what some expert tells us, or we don't wait for the news events to have the news tell us what to do. We make our own decisions. That's how you become a consistent trader. Now, looking here, we see that we had some down arrows. But remember, in order to trade this technique, you have to have the down arrow close below this Bollinger Band setting. And as you can see, we had these close above. We had one close. It was still in the range. And then that was it. So you wouldn't have lost anything here. Okay? Let's look at another example. Let's look at Amazon. Okay? So you just simply click on the stock. We're going to look at what we call the FANG. That's the FANG in this. That's Facebook, Amazon, I believe also Apple, Netflix, and Google. So if we look at Amazon here, the same time period, we see here that we had a close above, but it's kind of inside. So you could have either taken this one or this one. We had a close below, but it is not in the below the Bollinger Band setting, so that's okay. And then we had our first close here, and this is where you could have ridden this rally. All right. Now that we have the indecision, we'll look a little closer here. We have the indecision coming up, and as you can see, this is the market telling you it doesn't know what to do yet. There's your first bar closing above. Even though it's in the range, you could decide to take that one or this one, and look what happened. Amazon continued in this uptrend. Now, it's up to you to decide where you'd want to get out, where you want to place your stop, if you want to track this or not. Now, here we're in the indecision again. We've got an up arrow, but it's within the range of the Bollinger Band, so there's nothing to do here, okay? Let's look at another example. Let's look at that Pepsi example. To look at something on the downside, upside and downside. Scroll back a little bit. You see here that we had indecision here. We have our first close below, and look at the downtrend. Where people were thinking you may have bought here was too oversold, the market is telling you it wants to continue going lower. Now that we start to close within the range or above it, now we're no longer interested in selling. We're looking for our first up arrow. We'll scroll a little here to make it a little better for you to see. And there it is. There's the first up arrow that happened on June 8th. You could have used this as a long criteria. Remember, this is just a technique. It's up to you how you want to trade this. You could have purchased calls. You could have purchased some type of option spread or maybe even the actual stock. Either way, we've been above and we continue to remain above. All right? Now, this isn't based on any news. It's not based on any economic conditions. It's based on listening to only one thing. That's the chart in front of you, because that's the only thing you should be listening to. There's nothing else that really matters other than the chart. So I don't listen to news. I don't look at economic reports. I've never looked at earnings. Those things, if you want to look at them, that's fine. Remember, we're not here to tell you how to trade. But trust me, I've been around for 41 years trading. I stopped looking at that stuff decades ago. So there's no reason to, in my opinion. If you want to, it's my opinion that you're just overcomplicating your trading. All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at Apple, okay? We can see here that this was in May. Now we crossed above, and there's the first green arrow. And look at what happened here. Here's the first green arrow, roughly about 174. We went all the way up about another 15 points. Now we had some indecision, and there's another green arrow. Okay, this one wasn't so good. You only went up 2 or 3 points, and now we start to get the indecision again. So you could have taken a quick profit or stopped yourself out with a small loss. And now, where are we? We are below the Bollinger Band setting. So what's this telling us? It's telling us that we're in an immediate short-term downtrend. Even though we're getting up arrows, do you see how they're not working very well? Why? Because you're swimming against the trend. That's why we don't want to take these. We only want to take these if we're in sync with the trend above. So these are up, showing that we close in the top 25%. We're not going to take them though. Now, if we see a bar here, perhaps Monday or next week, that closes on its low or near its low and meets the criteria of closing below here, well then we'll use that as a setup to go short, okay? Remember, this is just a technique. I don't want you to start thinking that, oh, so Steve said to sell short Apple on Monday. No, we're not telling you anything. We don't advise or give any recommendations. We're just sharing with you techniques. Let's look at Netflix now, okay? Going into the FANG index, we're getting to the N. Starting once again, just going back in May, we can see here that we had all this indecision coming into May. We were inside the range of the Bollinger Bands. Here's our first close above for a more aggressive entry because we are still in the range of the Bollinger Bands, but we closed above. If you wanted to be more conservative, this would have been the bar you entered on. And look at how we just hugged nicely, how we stayed above this top Bollinger Band. See, this is the beauty of this setting on the Bollinger Bands. Netflix, even though it looked like it was rolling over or not doing anything, it was entirely above this Bollinger Band setting for the middle of May. It never even closed below, so that was telling you it's okay to be long, and it continued to go up. And it continues to be above. We had one close right here on Friday where we actually closed below. So if you're a long and you wanted to be conservative, you would be out of the trade, or you would be, if you're more aggressive, you'd have a tight stop and wait to see, because perhaps Monday we could go right back up again. As you can see here, we closed earlier in the week below, and then we went right back up. So it's entirely up to you with this technique, okay? And lastly, let's look at Google to give you an idea of the FANG and FANG. And Google basically did the same thing. We see here we have some indecision. Now, this is where I tell you this is based on consistency. Nothing works 100% of the time. As you see here, these were a couple of valid signals that were generated using this technique below the 50 period. It went down a little bit, but really not that much. So it didn't really start working until right here, but still not that much of a profit. You're getting an indecision, and it really didn't kick in until right here, and that's when you started to have the rally. Now, where is it right now? We are well below, so this is telling you the immediate trend for Google is down. Does this mean that we're going to be going much lower? No, no one knows how low something will go. We could open up and continue higher on Monday, so no one knows. You just have to follow and monitor, but that's the only thing you should be monitoring, the chart in front of you. You see, trading is really simple. It's just that we're making it more complicated by following the news, following what the institutions are doing, following some convoluted tool, an indicator that we have no idea what it's based off of. We teach you what everything is based off of. We teach you just about 90% of everything on our platform, and then let you decide how you want to apply it. Now, so far, we've been showing you things that have pretty much had an upward bias. Let's look at some stuff that really has a downward bias. Let's look at the spiders, because the spiders, you know, the market hasn't been going straight up as of late. In fact, it's had a downward bias just the last couple of days. So as we see here, we had a downward bias right here at the beginning of May, and we had a really nice down day, but then it closed upward. So you had potentially a 4 or 5 down point day in the spiders you could have taken advantage of. But once that we went back up above the range of the Bollinger Bands, here was our entry signal right here at roughly 270. And we continue to go higher up into roughly about 280, so 10 points throughout May and the middle of June. And now we're starting to sink. And at this point right here, which was just this past week or so, we had consecutive closes within the range. So this is telling us that most likely the trend is over. And look what we've had this last week. We've had 2 sell signals, one on Wednesday and one on Friday, where we closed below the Bollinger Bands and in the bottom 25%. So am I telling you to go short and buy the puts on Monday? No. According to this technique, it's telling you that you should not be long the spiders. Now, once again, this could all change, but this is a high consistency technique I'm just sharing with you. How you enter, how you exit, how you protect yourself with stops is entirely up to you. Okay? So that's the spiders coming in. Let's look at another example here. Let's look at Tiffany. Big diamond stock here, okay? And as we can see, we had some really nice movement above, how we hugged this upward Bollinger Band, but nothing much happened until right here. This was the end of May, and we had, based off some news, I assume, a real big gap opening, and here is our first up arrow on the top bottom 25% bar. Remember, once again, this is all pre-formatted. It's one click away. You saw how simply I just clicked this on, and that's once you are a member of our platform, you can do this just as easily in a couple of seconds. You can look through literally hundreds of stocks just looking at this. Now, even though someone said, well, Steve, this is too high, we gapped up. Had you purchased at the close of this bar, look what happened. Well, the stock went roughly from 123 all the way to 138. Now, what's happened in the last week? It's run out of gas, and now we are consecutively below. We have 3 closes below. So what's that telling you? It's telling you, according to this tool, most likely we are in a short-term, immediate downtrend with Tiffany. It's that simple. There's nothing you have to do. You know, someone would say, well, how can we be in a downtrend, Steve? Look at, we've gone up. Well, I'm not saying this. It's the tool telling you, okay? The market tells you everything you want to know. Unfortunately, we don't usually listen to the market. We like to listen to other things. Let's look at one last thing here. BIIB, I believe, has some downward movement. Because you can see we had some sell arrows, but where were they in the relation to the Bollinger Bands? They were above. So you wouldn't have taken any action, and it was a good idea not to, even though this may have worked a little bit. Look what would have happened. You would have had to hurry up and change course. But had you taken this buy signal right here, well, guess what? You could have captured all this trend. Now, this is why we always say you have to protect yourself, and we teach you these things in our courses, but we had a large gap down opening here, and since then, we really haven't been able to close back above the Bollinger Band setting. So what's that telling us? Most likely we're in a downtrend. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive closes below. So we have to wait for that red arrow based on the top-bottom 25%, and that would be some type of indication that we're going lower, okay? Now, let's look at some longer term, all right? I know a lot of you want to look at longer term information, so let's look at some longer term. Let's look at RTN, and this is how simple it is on our platform. We're going to look at, let's look at a weekly chart, okay? And let's go back to the beginning of 2017, just to scroll back and give us some more leeway here. As you can see, this same process will work on a weekly time frame. So if you want to use it to find out what the higher time frame is, you're free to do that. Remember, it's not in any way recommended. It's up to you. You know, we don't suggest that, but or even if you like to be more of a swing trader that only looks at weekly charts, look at how you could have entered right here, stayed in long the entire time. Once we started getting close, do you see how we hug this upper band here? Never really closed below until right here. All right, now we start to have buy setups again, but we really can't go anywhere. And now we had a sell, and this was just a few weeks ago, okay? We can also look at something that's really been going down for a while. This is GE. Okay, we can see here that originally we kind of closed. We had a down arrow, but we were still within the range of the Bollinger Band, so nothing, it's telling us indecision. Now we have consecutive weekly closes below, so this is telling us we're in an immediate downtrend. There's no news report to read. There's nothing we have to look about earnings or the status of the company. The market is telling us we are below the short-term Bollinger Band alteration, so we're in a downtrend. So once we have that, we know we shouldn't have been in this stock. And now look at, we have 1, 2, 3 sell setups by this top bottom 25%, and you all know what's happened ever since that. And this is coming into, once again, this last week. Okay? So you see how simple this is. This is just a great way to tell you the short-term trend, and it's also a great way to add a little structure to that short-term trend. Okay? And let me just show you just a few more before we give you a great offer here. Let's look at Microsoft, okay? And we're going to be looking at longer term once again. This is the beauty of this immediate trending tool. You see how we've been above this the entire time, all right? And how we hug it. This is all you need to see. If you're above that Bollinger Band, that's a buy setup. Now here we had some indecision. We closed below, so you could have recalculated and said, okay, this was in April of this past year. And the minute we closed and had consecutive closes above it, you say, okay, I'm going to be looking to buy Microsoft. And guess what? Beginning of May, there was a buy signal roughly here about 98, and it went up to about a good 4 or 5 points, but it's starting to come back down again. But it is still above its Bollinger Band setting. So there's really nothing you have to worry about if you're looking for some type of long setup. And that's to the upside. We can also look at something to the downside. So many traders in their long-term portfolio say, Steve, you know what? I'm losing so much money. My broker got me into this. I don't know why I'm in this stock in my investment. It's because you're taking yourself out of the game. You're relying on someone to tell you how to trade or how to invest. If you have your own tools available in front of you, you can make your own decisions. It's just as simple as applying this on a weekly or a monthly chart. As you can see here, we're well below, and we continue to stay below. And look at all the top and bottom 25% bars telling you what to do. Now here we went into indecision, but now we closed below, and look at roughly went from 21 all the way down to 16, and now it's starting to get back in that indecision level again. So it makes no difference if you're in an immediate uptrend or immediate downtrend. This will tell you is if we are above, the immediate trend is up. If we're below the Bollinger Band setting, the immediate trend is down. If you want to add a little structure, our top bottom 25% technique is a great way to initiate some type of entry point. But it's still just a technique. We didn't talk about stop placement. We didn't talk about exits. We didn't talk about, money management. That's part of a full-fledged strategy. But we're not talking about strategies today. We're just sharing with you how simple it is to be in sync with the market once you know what the immediate trend is. And this tool that is specifically designed for specialist trading and pro trader strategies on our platform is just as simple as applying one click away. All right, it's that easy. Okay, so as we go back to the presentation and we look at our disclaimer once again, this is something that is right at your fingertips. It's not something you have to calculate. Trust me, 41 years ago when I was taught this particular setting, I had to calculate this on a daily basis. Well, it's all done for you. So I want to ask yourself before we go into the end of the presentation, do you think these tools could have helped your trading this past year? Forget about this past year. How about this past month or even this past week? Okay. Well, I think you'll honestly answer yes, they could have helped you tremendously. Think of your losing trades. Most of the time when you lose, it's because you're out of sync with the trend. You're buying and it goes lower. Well, what does that mean? It means that you bought in a downtrend. Or you sell something to go short, and what happens? It goes higher. Well, that means you sold in an uptrend. So if you know the trend, you're already putting the odds in your favor. And that way, you can only take those trades with the current at your back. All right, so we have a great offer for you today. This is our Saturday offer. We're going to be offering you the PTS Primo Charting platform that teaches traders how to trade. You're going to get the use of the platform for 30 days for only $7, okay? $7. What's on the platform is roughly 41 years of techniques and tools that I've accumulated. You're going to get use of them 30 days for only $7. Here's what's included in that trial, all right? Obviously, you're going to get the Strategy 3A proprietary indicator. That's the Bollinger Band setting. That is one click away. You'll be able to use that. Plus, you're also getting a strategy with that, which is Strategy 3A. You'll find a way to actually trade using that indicator. You're going to get our enhanced buy-sell line. The buy-sell line, if you've seen my presentations in the past, is a way to determine our overall trend. It's different from the immediate trend, but when you combine the overall trend and the immediate trend, you even increase your odds for consistency even more. You'll also get some short-term trend identifiers. You'll get a signal scanner, so you can scan for these signals on a nightly basis. You'll get over 90 technical indicators if you'd like to tinker under the hood and experiment on your own. Plus, you get free Bloomberg TV. This is an icon that you simply click on. It's our media page that comes on. You get live Bloomberg TV. So if you really feel you have to know about what's going on economically or what's happening in the world, you can click on that TV and you get live reports as they happen. And then finally, personalized tech support. For any reason you have trouble loading a chart, using an indicator, we'll be there in a matter of moments to resolve the issue for you, okay? This is all yours, 30 days to check us out for only $7. Now, I'm sure you've gone to webinars before where they have a master strategy or some plan that's costing $5,000, $10,000 and you can get in quickly. We're not going to do that. We're going to give you all of this 30 days for only $7 because we're just trying to show you in good faith that we really want to educate you. This is part of what we do, and we really want to share with you these trending tools and these short-term top and bottom 25% bars that give you a clear idea as to what the market may be doing. And remember, this can be applied to short-term trading, if you like to trade intraday 5-minute bars, or it can be applied to monthly bars. I showed you some weekly bars and daily bars. We also had a bias with stocks today because remember, our basic background is in stocks, but everything we teach, everything we trade can be applied to currency pairs, futures, Bitcoin. We've even had some of our traders say that our methods work amazingly on commodities. So it makes no difference. All you have to make sure is that you understand how to properly use them, and that's what we teach you in our courses. So here's how to take advantage of this. Contact my sister site, which is Pro Trader Strategies. I developed the platform with them, and so we have a great partnership. They handle all of the sales and the discounts, and I handle all the teaching aspects of the company. So if you have any questions about the platform, anything about data, you can contact them at area code 310-598-6677. If you're interested in coming on board right away and taking advantage of that $7 offer where you can start using that uptrend and downtrend technique with the Bollinger Bands, as well as our top-bottom 25%, that's the link at the very bottom. It's not a live link, but if you look in the chat box, they have posted a live link in the chat box. You click that on, and there's more information, and you can sign up for the $7. Now, if you have any questions concerning data or the use of the platform or something else that you're interested in, you've attended my classes in the past and you're interested in a full-fledged strategy or mentorship, you can email Pro Trader Strategies or call them directly at, once again, 310-598-6677. Now, I'll leave this information up here on the screen as I open up the question and answer box. And now, if you have a question about anything I just shared with you, feel free to ask me, and I'll just read what's here right now. A lot of people are wondering whether they work on other markets, such as Indian markets for the NSE, that's a National Stock Exchange. Well, you know what? I would say, once again, since that is more of a technical support issue, I would contact Pro Trader Strategies. Now, I know our methods and our techniques can work on virtually any market. It doesn't matter if it's in India, Canada, whatever you're talking about, South America. It really doesn't matter because wherever there's a trend, wherever there's human nature being involved, they make these patterns, which is what we identify. Now, in terms of actually getting the data, that would be something you have to contact Pro Trader Strategies. Now, it's all possible that they are able to have that for you. Okay. So yeah, that's a question. If they work on Indian stocks or platform trading in India for the NSE, yeah, it doesn't seem like that would be much of a major issue. But once again, I would suggest contacting them at Pro Trader Strategies at the number or emailing them, and they can give you a better answer on that. Okay. Murphy's asking what the settings are for the Bollinger Bands. Well, we're not going to go into what the settings are. Remember, they're all pre-canned in there. We'd rather use the platform because we've learned that a lot of our people, if we give them the settings, they'll start to say, well, I can't do it on my platform. It doesn't work. And then someone else will say, well, it does, but it doesn't give me the option to do them the way you do them. And so it's kind of more of a hassle. That's why we said, you know what, let's create our own platform so that you don't have to worry about anything. It's right there. So we'd rather have you do it that way than to construct it incorrectly and then say that this doesn't work. I don't know why these guys told me this, because a lot of times your specific charting platform doesn't allow you to use the setting or to properly edit the setting the way we have. And remember, for $7, you can't go wrong. You can use this setting and you can see how simple and how powerful it is at the same time for $7. And trust me, I am probably sure that most likely most of you in the last 30 days have spent more than $7 in commissions, probably hundreds of dollars in commission costs. So for 30 days, you're going to get all of this plus more for only $7. I think it's a great offer that you can't afford to pass by. let's see. Can I have access on Pro Traders starter? I'm not sure what you're asking. I would, when you're saying, can you have access? Yeah, you have to sign up for the $7 offer, but then I would contact them first, though, if you're interested in that data from India, to make sure that you can get it, though. We would hate that. I mean, I know $7 is not a lot, but we'd hate to have you waste money and then not be able to use it on the market of your choice, okay? A lot of people are asking, does this work on other markets? Yes, it does. Remember I said, if you happen to join us late, you know, I use this on intraday trading. I use this on E-mini futures. And if you remember, towards the end of yesterday, the market had a rather large sell-off. We were up very big, and then all of a sudden we started to sell off very strongly. Well, this was, you know, this tool identified that we were in a downtrend well in advance of that sell-off, okay, of getting really deep into the sell-off. Why? Because on a 5-minute time frame, the E-mini closed below those Bollinger Bands. So this is a really great tool to help you ride the immediate trend, okay? And I can't think of a better way to do this for $7. I mean, if you're going out to lunch today, fast food restaurant, I can't mention any names, but you know what they are. I'm sure you're going to spend more than that just for one person, you know. So if you get a nice hamburger and fries and a Coke, that's going to be probably more than $7. So trust me, this is a great, great offer. And at the end of 30 days, you can decide whether you want to stay on or not. It's entirely up to you, okay? As we close here, I just want to say thank you so much for attending. If you have questions about data, questions about tech support, contact Pro Trader Strategies. If you have questions about actually teaching or trading this, once you become a member of the $7 platform trial, you'll get my personal email address, and I'll be able to answer any question you may have about trading, okay? I want to thank you so much for attending, and thanks for taking time out of your Saturday morning. I wish you the best of luck, but most especially, I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine at the new PTS Charting platform. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.